We live in unprecedented times. There is a huge amount going on in this world right now, and a huge amount going on for our climate and our ecosystem. But this session is not about what's going on in the outside world. This session is about you and your inside world. It's about your mind and how you experience what's going on and what you choose to do and how you choose to do it. Because it's vital that we understand our mind and that we use it in the most effective way. The mind can cause us to have a catastrophic and terrible time right now. The mind can make heaven of hell, or it can make hell of heaven. So what's most critical in this time right now is that you use your mind to enable you to live with peace, with clarity, and with effective action. So first of all, I'd like you to reflect on, how does change happen? How does any change happen? Well, change only happens through humans having thoughts. So I think something, I have a thought, and the thought then I act upon and I make change accordingly. In fact, everything on this planet that human beings have done has only ever happened through thought. The damage to the climate, the protection of the climate, all happened through thought. The best inventions on the planet, or the worst inventions, were simply generated from an initial thought from one person. Acts of war and acts of kindness, all is just a manifestation from the thinking of individuals. So before you launch into action around the climate, it's really important that you tune into your thinking and use it in the most effective way to operate free from blame or judgment or anger or fear, and that you access a quality of thinking that's going to help you be and do in the most effective way. And I'm taking you on a bit of a journey here to reflect on and think about how the mind actually works. So what I'd like you to do first of all is reflect on when your mind is at peace. When it's quiet, what's it like? When is your mind at peace? Maybe that's when you're out in nature. Maybe that's when you're out for a walk. Maybe that's first thing in the morning before you get up. Maybe it's when you're out on your bicycle or when it's doing yoga. Or maybe it's when you're in flow doing something in your work. Let's just reflect on a moment, like what the mind is like when it's at peace and quiet. Well, largely what happens when you're in those moments is that the mind slows down. The brain waves actually slow down, and it enables you to access a different quality of thinking. It enables you to access wisdom. And the thoughts tend to be quieter. The ego drops away. You access wisdom, you access creativity, and you access inspiration. Well, really, these are the very things that we need to access right now in the world to take climate action We need wisdom. And I'm inviting you to look at and tune into your own wisdom over these couple of days and these next weeks and months. It's like, what is your wisdom saying to you about what you want to do, how you want to live? What is your truth? And there's one thing that we really need to look at that can get in the way. And that one thing is thought, and in particular, noisy thought. So what you may notice is that we're thinking all the time. We're like a bubble machine. Actually, psychologists say we're having something like 70,000 thoughts every day. A constant stream of thinking. Notice your thoughts right now. Notice the train of thoughts that you've already had today about yourself, or about your work, or about what you read on the news, or about a loved one. Constantly thoughts going on. But let's just look at and reflect on what those thoughts are doing. Because we tend to exist in that thinking like it's real and it's the truth, all of it. So I live immersed in the thinking that I have about the climate or what might happen. And I can end up with a lot of very noisy, unhelpful thought that's actually fabricating, constructing all sorts of realities that aren't really real. The thinking I may have about myself, whether I'm good enough. So I invite you to really look at what your thought is doing. So psychologists say that we have about 70,000 thoughts a day. So thoughts are just coming through the human system all of the time, and it makes life pretty noisy when we listen to them all. We're like a bubble machine spewing out thoughts about ourselves, about the world, about each other, about our work, about where we live, about how we feel. Constantly thoughts after thoughts after thoughts. And a lot of those thoughts are creating noise, stories, drama. Some of those thoughts are labeling, some of them are judging, some of them are blaming. And all of these thoughts actually aren't good for the human system. They create fear, they create tension, they create worry. They drop us into the sympathetic nervous system, which has us operate really from a fight or flight mode. It pumps our body full of adrenaline and cortisol, which actually isn't good for us. It's not good for the health of our body. It's also not good for the health of our mind. And it's also not good for clear thinking and wisdom. So what I'm inviting you to do through this conversation is start to look at the relationship you have to all this thought. Because we tend to relate to thought like it's the truth. It just is the way it is. But everything you think is not the truth. It's just thought. And the less attached we can be to the thinking that we have about ourselves or what's going on, the more we can treat thought like clouds. They're just clouds and they're passing. Or like bubbles just spewing out of a bubble machine. The bubbles pop and they dissipate and they disappear. as will all the thinking that you've got today. The less attached we are to all of our thinking, the less attached we are to the stories and the drama that we're making up, the more we can operate from a calmer, more peaceful place. And when we do that, we have access to our wisdom. And when we're coming from that wisdom, when we're less caught up in our dramas, it's healthier for our mind and our body. But the wisdom is the key thing that you need to access right now. So let go of the blaming and the judging and the worrying and the stress. And start to look at what your wisdom is telling you. What's your truth? What do you want to stand for in this current age? What do you want to make happen? I really invite you to tune into that over these coming days and these coming weeks to really look at what role you can play in this world. Climate action, making a stand, doing some good in the world. It starts with you and it starts with me right here, right now. I really invite you to be the change that you want to see in this world.